My name is Brad Kuipers. I wrote the book Chronicles of Eldrin. Book one is called Manipulator. Chronicles of Eldrin is a fantasy novel. It takes place in a world completely within my own imagination, world that I've created, developed, and separate from Earth or anything that we would be familiar with other than humans. Essentially, this fantasy book takes you to a completely different realm with different kingdoms, very similar to like a medieval style part of our own history. The things that I've really delved into with my novel are similar things to that we've experienced through historical conflict. Things like manifest destiny, one sort of nation trying to control the world, and I also have other sentient beings other than humans. So it creates a really good opportunity to explore different racial tensions and what that looks like. I've encompassed all these different themes in my narrative. Writing this book was very important to me. It's important to me for a number of reasons. So one of the most significant reasons that I wanted to publish this book was because it represents me seeing something through from beginning to end, a dream that I've had since I was very young. I was about 12 or 13 when I started writing this book, and I never really thought of it as a career at the time. It was just for fun then. But throughout that time period, I've really seen writing as a viable career option. And to see this from such young roots to what it is now has been very fulfilling for me as an individual. I do have some significant takeaways in my book that I hope readers will get. One of those, first and foremost, is simply being entertained. I do write at this point in my career for entertainment, not just for myself, although I do enjoy the process, but for my readers. And I hope that they get as much entertainment and fancy as I do writing this. I hope it takes them to this world. That's really my intention, is to take them to a different world with different conflict. Maybe they'll be able to relate to some of it. I hope they can. But I hope it gives them escape too from whatever problems they have to deal with. That's part of what writing is. It's part of the beauty of reading, is to be taken to another world, to find your escape, even if it's momentarily. I do also touch on some hard topics in my writing as well. I like to explore the theme of good versus evil, which is something that is done and overdone. But my take on it is to blur the lines between good and evil. I like to keep the reader guessing on whose side is who on. I like to sort of keep things, what is good for one character might end up being evil for another character, but neither one of those characters might be inherently good or evil in the reader's eyes. I do also touch on themes of mental health. I find mental health is very, very prevalent in today's age, where we're doing many studies, a lot more research into it, and the stigmas around psychiatry and therapy are much different than they used to be. I also touch on some PTSD as well. Although I myself do not experience PTSD, I know many people who have. And sometimes people with PTSD can come off as being a bad guy or being misunderstood. And I do try to capture that complexity in my works. I also touch on some religious aspects in my books. No earth religions, obviously. I've created my own. But I do this to capture how religion has been used to control people in the past, and how religion has been used by a lot of the elite classes in order to create compliancy. I haven't touched on that as much in this book. I've set the groundwork for it. go through my series, it will play a much bigger role in the future books. I have been inspired to write since I was young, and I've always found my inspiration in things like history, nature, and music. All of these mediums have had a very powerful, maybe sometimes indirect effect on my writing, but I do try to tap into them as often as possible. So, for example, my love of history helps me write. Maybe historical accuracy isn't the right frame to use, but it helps me sort of capture, if two characters are sword fighting, it really helps me capture the historical relevance of the sword as a weapon. It also helps me capture narratives, different narratives told throughout human history. Some of the greatest stories ever told are things that happened and we recorded historically. I like to tap into those for inspiration. It helps me with my story ideas. In fact, it excites me sometimes. It excites me to be able to tell these different historical stories in a different medium. I find that music and nature inspire me as well in different ways. Nature, just the sheer beauty of it, to be able to capture it in words is such a powerful undertaking from any author. I do hold myself to a high standard in trying to capture a beautiful landscape with words. I believe it's paramount putting the reader into your story, not just your characters, but where they are. And music, listening to music, I listen to music when I write almost exclusively. Most of my music is instrumental. I like a lot of Hans Zimmer stuff, but instrumental music helps me tap into a place mentally that transports me to my world. It helps put me into my created fantasy so that I can continue to write. My book is available online and can be purchased at online bookstores. It can be purchased at www.writersrepublic.com/bookstore. It can also be purchased at www.amazon.com and www.barnesandnoble.com.